Greetings, vinyl community. Welcome. Well, first of all, I don't know if this is my first video of 2020 because I'm brain farting, but let's pretend that it is. Happy New Year to everyone. Happy 2020. It's probably not, but let's just say it is. Welcome to a beautiful Monday morning as I film this. I'll upload this later in the week. This is the last day of my vacation, and the reason why I say it's a beautiful Monday morning is because last week, while I was on vacation, we had, I won't say record-setting cold, but several days during last week, we were the coldest place on earth. Take that for what you will. Yeah, it was really bad, and I have stories to tell, but that's fun. That's not vinyl related. You guys don't want to know that stuff. But yeah, it was cold. And it's beautiful because this week we're going to be hovering around 0 all week, and then I go back to work tomorrow. So anyways, I would rather have a week off when it was minus 40, minus 39, 40 than have to go out and go to work when it's that cold. So I guess it all worked out in the end anyways. And I bought lots of vinyl, which is good for both of us. So one last time, everyone, I hope everyone had a great New Year's. I hope everyone's having a great New Year's so far. And once again, cheers, everyone. All right. I'm sure there's lots of non sequiturs and stories I could open up with, but we got a lot of vinyl, as always. It seems to be the common denominator with these videos is that there's lots of vinyl to show you and not enough time. I think I left off last video with a stack to show, and we're going to try to work that in today. We got some new vinyl. We got some amazing thrift store vinyl, which I have a lot of it parked because I haven't spun cleaned it. That sounds kind of dirty. I haven't put it through the spin cleaner. So that's going to be parked until next video. Geez, I got a new guitar. I found some vintage stereo equipment, which is sitting on the chaise lounge over here. But that's all for another video. Like I said, we got some new vinyl. We got some amazing thrift store vinyl, some stuff that came via some used record stores, and and the lot, as it always tends to be. Let's start off with some new vinyl, and it's about 8:30 a.m. and I'm looking over here like there's a clock over here, but really all that's over here is a print by Patrick Nagal. You can Google that, but there's no clock over there. It's 8:30 right now in the morning, so I'm just waking up, having some coffee. The wife had to go back to work. Sorry, wife. And I get an extra day off, so cheers, everyone. All right, we're going to start with this. This was the last holdover from the Black Friday record store day. I've talked about this in other videos. Last video, I showed you the Fight album, War of Words, that the PA Vinyl Junkie was so nice enough to send me. I really do appreciate that. And this is the last holdover, and there were some extra copies that were now released to record stores. I didn't get it locally. I had to order it from England, even though she's a Canadian. Go figure that one out. But this is Buffy St. Marie's Illumination. I have twice before showed original copies of this that I found locally. But this is a completely remastered version, and the upside to this one, or the selling point to this one, it was mastered by Kevin Gray. Now, Kevin Gray is arguably, to me, the best vinyl cutter, the best vinyl remasterer. Once again, I'm making up my own language here. He's the best going at coherent audio. He did the last T-Rex, the Slider, the one that I've gone on and on about how good that one is. He's done some Yes albums, he's done some other things, but Kevin Gray did this one. 180 gram vinyl, yellow vinyl. But this is from 1969. If you've not heard me talk about this album before, I'll talk about it really quickly. Buffy St. Marie is a very prominent Canadian. I don't know what the rest of the world feels about Buffy St. Marie because she's a very important Canadian folk singer. Very, very important to the Indigenous people and Indigenous rights in Canada. But apart from that, she's a terrific folk singer. But this album stands alone from anything else she's ever done. This is 1969. This is as close to a folk psychedelic electronic album of sheer brilliance you'll ever hear. It's the early days of electronic, and she used it, and it's nothing like she's ever done before or since. And it's an amazing album. You'd have to hear it, like another album coming up. You have to hear it before you pass judgment on it, because you see the name Buffy Sainte, and you think, if you know who she is, you think it's a singer-songwriter folk album. That it is not. It is an amazing album. If you see this kicking around the stores for cheap, and you want to take a punt on it, it's on various streaming services too. You can listen to it. It's an incredibly great experimental electronic folk psych album, if that all fits together, and somehow it does, because this album's amazing. Illuminations on yellow vinyl from, who put this out? Craft Record for Black Friday Record Store Day. Amazing album. I could go on and on and on and on about it, and I just did. All right. As I spill coffee all over myself. Oh, I spilled my coffee all over Bruce, I think. Sorry, Bruce. I finally took a chance on this one. It's not really taking a chance. I didn't want to spend the full money on this album, even though the other albums in this series have been the best releases of this band's career. Where was a couple of days ago? I went into a store that didn't really sell vinyl, but they had some vinyl that they stocked just for Christmas, and then they had this for half price. It was like $20, and I wasn't going to say no to Pink Floyd's The Wall, the Pink Floyd Records 2016. Is it? It's already 2016. Already, what, 4 years old? Wow. The Wall remastered version. The thing about The Wall, people can go. This is a case where people can go on and on about how great original vinyl is and how it always sounds better. It is so seldom that you will find a copy of The Wall, which is an original or early pressing, that sounds good, in the sense that there's so many quiet passages in The Wall that any pops and clicks and surface noise is really noticeable. So to that end, picking this up and hearing a clean, there's no noise on this pressing, hearing a clean recording of The Wall on vinyl was a real treat. And to that end, like I said, I would highly recommend this, especially at half price. That was crazy. But thank you to the store who stocks vinyl over Christmas and then doesn't sell it and sells it for half price. But anyways, that's my spiel about The Wall, is that I've never really heard, I mean, visually, I've had copies of The Wall that look flawless, and there's always some surface noise during those quiet passages that distracts you slightly, and this one, well worth your money. So that's, this might be the last of the Pink Floyd remasters I was holding out on because of the price, and I have originals, but this is so much better. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, I've done testing against original copies of these remasters versus original copies, and these are the best. What can you say? That's a strong argument about, in this case, newer vinyl being better than original presses, in my opinion. All right. This is one of my most wanted jazz albums, and I didn't know this existed, because I'm always looking on Amazon and other places for an original copy. There are other versions of this album out on, I'm trying to think of there's semi-legal labels like Wax Time and DOL and things like that, that are kind of semi-legitimate, that are mastered off of compact discs for the most part. And I didn't want one of those copies of this album because it's such an important album. And then I go on Amazon one day, and then they've got one in stock of this one. It's Ornette Coleman's The Shape of Jazz to Come. This is a double vinyl 45 RPM pressed, and it's pressed at Palace, arguably one of the best pressing plants there is. And like I said, double vinyl, 45 RPM mastered, just insane. And it's mastered by Bernie Grundman too. And as I'm getting older and older, that seems to be more important to me, is the people who are cutting these records. Bernie Grundman's an incredible one, Kevin Gray, there's a few other ones that I'm brain farting on, but these people kind of consistently turn out incredible vinyl cuts. And Bernie Grundman does an amazing job on this one. It was a few bucks, I'll say that, but I was waiting for a legitimate Atlantic Records repress of this one, and there it is. Amazing. And if you want to see an amazing documentary, go on YouTube, and there is a documentary called 1959. What the hell is it called now? Just type in Jazz 1959, and there's a documentary about the four most influential albums in jazz ever came out in 1 year. Ornette Coleman, The Shape of Jazz to Come, Miles Davis, Kind of Blue, Dave Brubeck's Time Out, and Charles Mingus. That all came out in 1 year, and to this day, they're four of the most influential jazz albums of all time. This was the one of that lot that I've been missing, so I was really happy to get that one. And then I think we're still on to new vinyl here. I think the John Coltrane catalog on Atlantic, or at least on Rhino, I'm gonna guess they're being deleted because there's a online store. I think it's Rare Waves or one of those two that you see as a third-party seller off Amazon. So Rare Waves or one of those two, anyways. They're selling John Coltrane albums, the Rhino ones, at dirt cheap. I got this for $10 plus $3.99 shipping. Coltrane Sound. And this, once again, is 180 gram vinyl from the original master recordings. Once again, cut by Bernie Grunman. So I'm kind of thinking there might be something coming up where they're going to repackage or re-release these John Coltrane Atlantic record pressings. But this, I wasn't going to say no. I didn't have this one, obviously, so I got that one for $10 off of. It was an Amazon third-party seller. Can't remember. That's what the internet's for, is for you to look it up. But anyways, there you go. Coltrane Sound, another amazing Coltrane album. Is this the last new vinyl? It is, I think. This is came out on vinyl about a year ago, and it's been on my list of things to get, and it's really cheap. So I thought, you know what, I'll get it when I get it. And during my vacation, it was the time to get it. It was Veruca Salt, 8 Arms to Hold You. At least in my parts, you can get this for $20 or so. I've had this. I was saying this to the Omar introvert Hannah via Instagram. I've been going back in my mind whether this or their first album, American Thighs, is my favorite. It's a toss-up between those two albums. They're two great albums. But 8 Arms to Hold You. This has Volcano Girls on it, produced by Bob Rock, which I totally forgot about. Anyways, finally got around to picking this one up on vinyl. All right, are we on to thrift store vinyl? We are. And I will say, for the most part, I got a pretty huge haul, and they were all pretty much $1, as you can see there. And the odd thing is that I don't know who was pricing these, but these haven't been $1 in a long time. They're usually $1.99, $2.99, and then I guess they must have had a fill-in worker who just arbitrarily priced these at $1. So I was pretty happy about that. So I got a copy of The Unforgettable Fire by U2. I'm not sure if that's an upgrade copy or not, but I wasn't going to leave it behind. I got a label variant. U2, you know, I collect U2. I'm not as hardcore as a lot of people out there. But this was an ex-library copy, and I was able to get all the library stickers off except for one. This came into the library in 1987 on December 17th, and it's a later pressing when the Joshua Tree came out and was very popular, and it has a different label on it. This is real nerd shit. But anyways, I got a different copy of U2's War. Got a copy of Tom Waits' Blue Valentine. Maybe the second, third time I've ever found a Tom Waits album at a thrift store. This album in particular, I'm not that familiar with, to be honest with you. So I haven't played this one yet. When you get as much vinyl as I do, it takes you a long time to kind of make your way through it all. I do, eventually. Follow me on Instagram and you'll see that. NAZZ_NOMAD. Follow me on Instagram, as the pros say. And while you're at it, smash that like button or subscribe button and fuck, who cares. Blue Valentine by Tom Waits. A couple early Steve Miller albums. I found a copy of number 5, an original pressing, which I think this is the first time I've ever found this at a thrift store. Number 5, Steve Miller Band. And then I found Steve Miller Band, Recall the Beginnings, A Journey from Eden, an original pressing of that one. Yeah, I don't know much about this one. I see it around sometimes, but I don't know much about this album, so I can't really comment on it. But early Steve Miller is pretty good by me. This was via an online ad. Someone was putting some albums up on sale, and really good price. And then one album on this online ad, I think it was a Facebook ad actually, stuck out for me was, and it's out of print. At least I don't see it in circulation right now. Is a band called Earthless, and I've talked about them before. This one is called From the Ages, and it's double red vinyl on TP Records. And this one stuck out in the guy's list of something that I will drive across the city for, which I did. And I got that from him for a very decent price. So Earthless, From the Ages. I've talked about them before. I think I've made mention of this, maybe, I'm not sure. I think Earthless was my favorite discovery of 2019, although they've been around for a bit. Earthless is the band that I discovered in 2019, which is I think my favorite discovery. Take that for what you will. Anyways, they consistently blow my just brains apart. Okay, I'm going to show you something. And unless you've heard this album, please don't comment, because you have to hear this album, because I'm going to show it to you. Like I posted on Instagram, and then there were some people kind of confused about what the hell is he doing posting this. It's James Last, Voodoo Party. Okay, I'm going to show this to you. I'm going to give you the Coles notes on this one. James Last, we all know, he fills up all of our thrift store bins. The guy sold 80 million records worldwide, and about 79,500,000 are in thrift stores around the world. And it's tough to discern, does he have any good albums out there? He legitimately made two good albums. One was in 1975, and this one from 1971 called Voodoo Party. I seen this one in London a couple years ago, and it was like 25 pounds at this record stall in one of the markets. And I've been wanting it for a while. It came out for Record Store Day a couple years ago, which I think you can still get copies of that kicking around. But I found this online for like $5-6 plus shipping, and I've been looking for this one for a while without spending a ton of money. This is legitimately a great album, and like I said, unless you know about this album or you've heard it, you can't really comment on it, because he really went out of his way to make a good album. And you can tell by the cover, it's psychedelic with a Latin influence, I guess you'd have to say. It's like I said, the best thing I can do to describe it is it's kind of a Latin psych album. It is, and it's really good. Do your due diligence, read about it online, and then if this album perplexes you, have a listen to it. It's on the streaming service I have. It's on that one. It's legitimately a great album. So I mean, you can make comment about it, but unless you've heard it, I would never think that there was a great James Last album out there, and Voodoo Party is actually a legit great album. And it's one of those albums that if you're in the know, you know. And then if you're not, educate yourself a bit on that album, because if you're into such things, this might really change your mind about, not the man, because he made 100,000 shit albums, but then he made two legitimately great albums that he actually went out and tried to make a great album, and he did with that one. More thrift store stuff. Sorry, the James Last was not a thrift store find, by the way. I went from thrift store to local online ad to I ordered this from a third-party seller on Amazon for a few bucks. We're back into thrift store stuff. The Blasters. I think this is self-titled. No, it's called Hardline. Sorry, Hardline. I think the Blasters get kind of forgotten about a bit. The Alvin brothers are essentially, Dave and Phil, they were essentially the Blasters. One of the great LA bands that seemingly just get kind of pushed aside a bit, and I think they need to have a little bit of a renaissance maybe at some point. At least people listening to their albums again. This one was at a thrift store for $1, and I'm happy to add this to my collection, the Blasters. We got some weird stuff coming up. The really, really weird stuff is aside because I haven't washed it yet or put it to the spin clean. I got some valuable, really weird stuff that I'll show you next video. It's just really weird, valuable stuff. Jean-Luc Ponty on Blue Note, Cantaloupe Island double album. Don't know anything about this album, but I saw it was on Blue Note, so I thought for $1, what the hell. And I'll report back on this one because it looks like a well, obviously an earlier album in his career, but I'll have to. It says originally recorded on Pacific Jazz while Ponty was with Frank Zappa's Mother of Invention, so you know it's a little bit in that ilk. So, anyways, Space Odyssey. I found part 1 and part 2 of a Space Odyssey. There's volume 2 and there's volume 1 in excellent condition. I've never seen this one before. See this one sometimes. Never seen that one. Mark Knopfler, the soundtrack to the film Cal that he did. I haven't heard this one, and maybe I've heard it years ago, but I haven't heard it recently, so I can't comment on it. It's Mark Knopfler. His name is on it. I was going to buy it. I'm trying to rush through these here. Julie London. There's a lot of collectors who collect Julie London, but whenever I find her albums, I pick them up. In fact, whoever paid for this paid $20 for it. I paid $1 for it. So Julie London. It's called Great Performances on Liberty Records. This, once again, this deviates from the thrift store stuff. Then we'll go back to the thrift store stuff. This was another local online ad on Kijiji. I'm not sure if you guys have that in your area. It's much like Craigslist, I guess. This girl was partying with some of her vinyl, and I got this for $10. It's a double live Jeff Buckley album called Mystery White Boy. And ever since I did that video on Jeff Buckley, which has got a lot of views, by the way, if you haven't seen it, you're missing out. Anyways, I've just been in love with Jeff Buckley. Not legitimately as a man, because that would be wrong. I love his music, and I missed out on him the first time around, and I've been picking his albums up slowly. But this was recorded on the Grace tour. I guess his mother put this out after his death, and it was all taken from DAT tapes that Jeff Buckley recorded while he was on that tour, and it's a really good album. So Jeff Buckley, Mystery White Boy. This one is really cool. This is an original Canadian pressing of Richie Valens' only album, 1956, I believe. This has Donna and La Bamba on it. And I see this every now and again, but it's always in shit condition. This one is in, amazing, clean condition, if you can see that. Not a mark on it. And that was $1. And I've actually played this one a few times around, as I've had in my collection, I have kind of a dodgy copy of it. Found I hate to use the word mint. It's VG++++ version of Richie Valens. There was another album that came out after this, after his death, but this was the only album, I think, of his original recordings that were meant for an album to come out. Richie Valens, 1956. And then really weird album, Billy Vera and Judy Clay on Atlantic. And this one is, I want to say it's late 60s. But just based upon the fact that it's a red label Atlantic, I know Billy Vera from later on, he had a hit in the 80s. But he was a soul singer. And I wasn't aware of that. But he did this collaboration with a woman named Judy Clay. And in fact, I've since read that this is the first, I'm just repeating what I read. This is the first interracial duo to put an album out at the time. So, and I've actually played this. It's actually a pretty decent soul R&B album. Billy Vera, it's in the Shrink too. Shrink. It's Billy Vera and Judy Clay. That was a nice surprise to finding that one. This one is really weird, and this is all part of that thrift store haul I had. This is on Fontana Records, and it's a band called Daughters of Albion. And late 60s, early 70s, but it's a, look at that cover. Would you leave this behind at a thrift store? You know, you just know by sight sometimes when you're, I guess when you get to be a seasoned crate digger, as they say, or a thrift store shopper for vinyl, you just get a gut feeling about something that could be really great or valuable, I guess, is if you know, another way of putting it, I guess. But those are different things, obviously. But this just looks like it's a great album, and it looks psychedelic, and that's what it is. It's kind of a psych folk album by a duo, and I can't remember what their names are. Greg Dempsey and Kathy Yees, I believe it is. Good album, worth a few bucks too, but really good album, and I was just shocked to see that there on Fontana Records. This one I've been after for a long time. I've been after for finding this band's albums after the original singer left on vinyl is not easy. Let's put it that way. But this has been on my want list. In fact, I was going to bid on one on eBay, and then boom, there one is. Bad Company, Dangerous Age. One of my most wanted albums. I was going to do a video I did a couple years ago. I was going to do it again, which I probably won't, but I might. Who knows? It was my most wanted albums in 2020, and one of them is Bad Company's Holy Water. Those albums after Paul Rogers left with, now I'm brain farting on his name. Yeah. You guys, Brian Howe. That's who I'm talking about. They made, I think, 3 albums. They did Dangerous Age. They did Here Comes Trouble. They did Holy Water. They might have done one other one. But I've been looking for those Brian Howe albums, and I finally found a copy of Dangerous Age. This one has No Smoke Without a Fire, which is the song that I was familiar with off this album, but happy to find that one. Some jazz titles. I hope you stuck this one out so far, because there's some great jazz stuff coming up. In the Shrink, go figure, a copy of Hank Mobley, A Caddy for Daddy, on Blue Note. It's an early pressing. That's all I know about this, and I have not matched up matrix codes, and I've been on vacation. I got better things to do. I'll shop for records, but I'm not going to be matching up matrix codes to Discogs pressings. But it's an early pressing in the Shrink. Shrink. Hank Mobley, Caddy for Daddy. Lee Morgan's on this album. McCoy Tyner's on this album. Billy Higgins on drums, among others. But A Caddy for Daddy, found this one, unbelievably. And then John Coltrane. Just speaking of John Coltrane again, an album called Infinity, which I believe was released after his death on Impulse Records. This, as far as I understand, this was released by his wife, and they added some strings to it after the fact. But I can't remember, 1972. And I didn't know also that he had a record label, Coltrane Records, at some point. But anyways, Affinity by John Coltrane. When I find jazz, I seem to find them in bunches, and then I go 9 months without finding anything. Then I find a bunch of jazz titles again. So Hank Mobley, John Coltrane's Affinity, and then I found the incredible Jimmy Smith, Got My Mojo Working, arranged by Oliver Nelson, who has an incredible album I talked about a few videos ago. Kenny Burrell's on this one. I've been finding a lot of Jimmy Smith albums lately. But Got My Mojo Working, an original Verve Records pressing. Bloodstone, Unreal. This is another one where I'm vaguely aware of the band Bloodstone. They were a 1970s funk R&B band. But this is one of those ones where, this is on London Records. Like I said, it's called Unreal. And if you saw that cover, look at, there's a horse jumping over a friggin' rainbow. There's pantomimes. There's the band riding horses. It just looks like it's going to be good. And it is good. Bloodstone, Unreal from 1973 on London Records. Got myself an upgrade copy of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Damn the Torpedoes. Always looking for nice upgrade copies of this one. So I think my cover is better than this one. So once again, as I call it, I'll make a Franken album, and I'll swap covers in vinyl, and I got myself a nice vinyl upgrade. Let's see here. we're getting on in time. You know what? I'm going to park the rest. I will park the rest because I want to talk about something that I was going to talk about last video. And I'm going to try to be quick because I'm already at the 30-minute mark here. So hang tight here. I don't think this person will ever see this. I hope he does. I'll let him know. I'll talk about it. But I bought a box set on Christmas Eve. Someone on, once again, Kijiji had this box set on, and I'm not sure what the deal was, if he stole it or what. It was sealed. And when I met the guy in this parking lot with, took my wife with me, obviously, because you never know how these things are going to turn out. Christmas Eve, 10 p.m. at night. You're going to get jacked or something like that. Don't be fooled by this body. I know it's ripped, and I can handle myself, but you never know at 10 o'clock at night on Christmas Eve. Anyways, I almost made myself laugh on that one. And anyways, so I met this guy, and I'm not going to say black guys aren't allowed to like this guy, but it just seemed kind of odd. There was some rap dude who had this box set, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the deal was with it. I wasn't going to question it. He only wanted like a third of the selling price for this box set. The reason why I wanted this box set, now that I come around back, this is why my videos go so long, is someone I'm friendly kind of with on Facebook and YouTube is a guy named Billy Hurst. If you want to see how to do a vinyl unboxing and description of a box set that's going to make you excited for that box set, watch his and I'll put a link in the bottom here. I'll stop being lazy and I'll put links in the bottom here to please watch his video regarding this box set, because this is how you do a box set review. It is in very much detail, but not to the point of tedium where you want to bore yourself with tears. He did such an amazing job on this box set. He sold me into getting this box set, and I'm going to show it to you, and you're going to think this is the last thing I think you would listen to, Dave, Nazz, whatever the frig your name is. But it sold me on it. And before I bought it, I was driving in the car with my wife, and I said, hey, do you know this guy? Just to test out the waters, how much he was going to make fun of me. And I said, hey, do you know this guy's music? And she said, yeah, we used to sing his songs all the time at bars, and she knew them all. And I'm thinking, okay, it's cool that I get it. You never know. I got the limited edition box set for the Garth Brooks Legacy. And this has No Fences, The Chase, In Pieces, Fresh Horses, and it's got the Triple Live album. This is the new box set that's out, and it's the best priced box set you'll ever find for what you get inside of it. I am not overtly a Garth Brooks fan. I have sold hundreds of thousands of his CDs at the various record stores I've owned and managed and worked at. So I was vaguely familiar with some of his music. But Billy did this video that was so well done that he sold me on it, and he wasn't trying to sell it. He was just describing it, and there's 3 versions of this box set, and he has all 3 of them, and he went through the differences, like I said, and he really, in his passion, that's what it was his passion. That's a good word for it. His passion said, David, you're probably missing out on something, and you can't really talk about something unless you're educated enough. So I can't really offer an opinion on Garth Brooks unless I'm educated about something, about his music. I found this on Kijiji, and I went and got it. And I've only gotten a couple albums into it, and I can't really offer opinion until I get more familiar with his music. This isn't obviously all of his albums, but and what a box set. I mean, these are all from the original master recordings, the vinyl. There's you get 7 vinyl and 7 CDs. The CDs are all from a different mix that came out later on, and Billy wasn't a fan of those CDs. But the vinyl is the original master recordings and they're not messed with for remixing, etc., etc. So that's why I kind of went for this one. Anyways, Garth Brooks Legacy box set, and that was the last video. I kind of hinted at that, and I think people were expecting something different. But I want to say once again before I end this video that if you want to see a box set review or an album review done right, where someone talks from the heart about an artist that means so much to him, and goes into everything you would need to know about a recording or a box set before you dove in to buy it. This is how you do it, is how he did it. And like I said, I wasn't bored. I watched the video 3 or 4 times, because hearing Billy talk with such conviction and such passion was really fun to watch. So he's a really interesting cat, that guy. So I'm talking about Billy. Garth could be as well, but I couldn't comment on that. I'll put a link in that description, and you know what? Like I said, if you want to see how to do a review, watch that, because I've seen 1,000 reviews on YouTube, and 99.9% of them are just fucking boring. And Billy kept it really interesting, and I loved it. So thank you, Billy. I really like the box set so far, and like I said, I will never not listen to something, because the biggest thing you could be is ignorant about talking about someone's music. Like, how can I offer an opinion on Ariana Grande or it's a Billie Eilish or whatever the fuck her name is, and these people are out today. It's easy enough to say, oh, they suck. What about, because it's not the people I grew up with, but unless you're educated enough, and I can't, you know, same as in the Garth Brooks falls in that. That's my opinion on music. I don't feel it's right to offer comment unless you know what you're talking about. So I'm really enjoying this, and I know my wife likes a lot of the songs on here, so it's kind of a dual thing anyways. That's it, and I've got about another 50, 60 records to show you. We'll get to next video, and probably since then, in between that time, I'll add another 50, 60 records to my collection. Anyways, and I've ran out of room, so I'm going to start keeping them in the attic, I think. I don't know, tucked under beds. This is David Michael, aka Nazz Nomad, and I want to say, once again, follow me on Instagram, NAZZ_Nomad. You'll see what I'm listening to, just the tedium that is my life. And thank you for watching my videos. I really do appreciate that, as always. So leave a comment below. If I have time, I'll respond. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.